Hello, how are you doing today? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today's topic is something close to my heart, coexisting with wildlife, which is something we need to be prepared for as homeowners. Living harmoniously with the wildlife around us is not just important, it is essential. As humans, we're constantly expanding our cities, building roads, and developing lands. We're encroaching on wildlife habitats, disrupting their ecosystems, and sometimes even putting species at risk of extinction. But it doesn't have to be that way. We can find a way to live in harmony with nature, and today we're going to explore how. So let's get into this crucial conversation. Let's kick things off by acknowledging the sheer beauty of nature. Our surroundings are teeming with diverse wildlife, and it's our responsibility to coexist respectfully. From the birds singing in the morning to the deer gracefully crossing our paths, there's a unique charm in sharing our space with these creatures. Wildlife is an essential part of our planet's ecosystem. We all know this. They play crucial roles in pollination, spreading seeds, and pest control. We need those birds and animals to eat up the pests that we don't want around. They provide us with food, medicine, recreation. Who doesn't enjoy going to the zoo? They are living, breathing creatures with their own right to exist. So we do have a moral obligation to protect them and ensure their survival. If you've heard me talk about Cherokee Village before, you know it's one of the best things about our area. How beautiful it is, how many natural areas they are, how many undeveloped areas, how many wildlife are in your yard. So to be able to enjoy the plants and animals around us, there are many things that we can do as homeowners to make sure that continues on. It's vital to understand the behavior. It is vital to understand the behavior of our wildlife neighbors. Why do they do what they do? How can we peacefully share our neighborhood or our homes with them? What are some common wildlife behaviors that we can expect to see? A little knowledge does go a long way in fostering our coexistence. Of course, one thing that you may know is that all animals need water, from a bear down to a flea and everything in between, and even smaller and bigger. But they need water, and that's why lakefront homeowners are sometimes more impacted by the wildlife in our areas. They come through our yard to go down and drink the water. I think that's why the deer bed in our yard, because we're right beside the water. That's why we get groundhogs around our house, and of course the fish and the snakes. And then of course the lake's not the only place they can get water, but it is convenient for them if they're already in the neighborhood. Of course, animals also need shelter. Maybe it's not the bird house or the bat house that you build for them, but they do need some kind of shelter where they can take care of their young, heal if they're sick. So those are two essentials that they're going to need to continue to survive. So when we live alongside the wildlife, it's not always easy. And there's bound to be reasons that we and the animals are competing for the same space, the same place, the same resources. And when those animals pose a threat to our human safety, that's when we start to get conflicts. And they can lead to resentment toward wildlife, or maybe even calls for eradication. But it's important to remember that these animals are simply trying to survive just like us. So how can we coexist together? That's the important question. So what can we do? Let's talk about practical tips. How can we make our home and neighborhoods more wildlife friendly? I mentioned bat and bird houses. These are a great way to keep these animals away from our house. They can often cause damage by building nests in the attic or having droppings in the nest. I hate to talk to you about how hard it is to get bats out of your house. And if we put the houses up, then they have a place to go that's near our house and near the water, so they can continue to get rid of the pests that we don't want that come for the water, and maybe even enjoy watching them roost in their homes, but they're not causing damage to our home. It's also a great idea to plant native vegetation, but be careful and not plant non-native vegetation. I'm sure we've all heard about how bamboo can grow so crazily in areas where it's not meant to be. You do want to create those comfortable spaces away from your home. So maybe put them at the edge of your lot, the lot next door, down the street, so that you can still enjoy them and they can still have a place to go to, but it's not maybe right on top of where you are. And we want to continue to make sure that they have protected areas like state and national parks for those animals that maybe we don't even want down the street for us. Also keep in mind that wildlife has a significant economic value. They attract tourists, generate revenue through hunting and fishing licenses, even provide essential ecosystem services like pollination, spreading seeds, and we keep taking those things for granted. And so that's why these are just simple steps that you can take to create a space where both human and animals feel at home. Sure, human-wildlife coexistence isn't always a walk in the park. There might be challenges, and that's to be expected. Something that you can do to continue to keep the animal and wildlife away from your area around your home is to clean up old dying vegetation to deter any of those pests. That's where they like to burrow and hibernate, so that's getting rid of the leaves, anything especially in the fall and the winter out of your gutters too. And make sure that you do patch any holes, cracks, crevices, any ripped screen, damaged siding, because that's where they're gonna get into your house. Make sure that you have vents and screens, or if you have attic vents in your attic, or if you have vents in your basement, make sure that they have screens in them so they're not getting in that way either. You can provide food and water for these animals, for the wildlife, but do try to keep it away from the house. Like I said, a bird bath, you don't want to put it right under your window just so your cats can watch, but have it a little bit farther away so they can still enjoy it. You can still enjoy watching them, but it's not so close to the house. You also want to make sure you use fencing and natural deterrents for your flower and vegetable garden so that you can still enjoy that, but they don't tear it apart and make it so you can't use what you've planted. Whether it's securing your trash or protecting your garden, we can find solutions that work for everyone. You, yes, you have a crucial role to play in this story. A great way to be prepared is to know what local wildlife rehabilitators there are in the area. So if you come across an animal in distress, you know who to contact. For example, we had a raccoon show up in our garage one day, and unfortunately it was having seizures, which was very concerning. So luckily I know a local wildlife rehabilitator, and I called her and she said, it probably has distemper, you need to get your dogs vaccinated and get rid of the raccoon. So we did that, and now we feel better about having them vaccinated and up to date, and at least it was somebody, we probably figured that the raccoon wasn't going to be safe, but I want to make sure there wasn't anything we could do for it, as well as get a professional opinion on what we should do for our house. So it is important to have those contacts in the area so you are prepared if something like that happens to you. In fact, I found that if you just let them be, they won't bother you. And generally that's the case. There are a few species that are aggressive, as you know, but there is a reason that we're all here, so it's important to share that space and not invade on their space if it's at all possible. Healthy wildlife populations do contribute to our healthy ecosystem, which in turn benefits us. We enjoy cleaner air, cleaner water, more resilient forests, and a more stable climate. So every small effort adds up, and together we can create an environment where humans and wildlife can coexist and thrive side by side. Our furry friends are part of our families, our pets, our cats, our dogs, but their interactions with wildlife can sometimes pose challenges, so it is important to be prepared. One thing you can do is teach your pet to leave it. For example, if I drop some food on the ground in the kitchen, instead of scrambling, I say leave it. They stop, I pick it up, I throw it away, especially if it's something that I know that's going to hurt them and I don't want them to have. You can also use this situation with wildlife. If you're out taking a walk and a squirrel runs across your path, you can say leave it. It's probably going to be harder to get them to listen to it because it's an active, moving thing, but at least they have that command in their head and it helps them. Another thing that you can do with your pets is give them the opportunity to see the wildlife by putting a bird feeder outside your window for your cats to watch, or put a squirrel feeder outside for your dogs to watch. Just give them a chance to interact with the wildlife without being in danger of hurting each other. Also keep your pets vaccinated so they can be protected from any future interactions. Like I said with the raccoon, I don't even know if my dogs were around the raccoon, but the fact that it was in the garage and we walked through the garage and it was there, we just took that extra step and got them vaccinated again. But having them vaccinated before helps protect them still, because it has the immunity in their system already, and that booster can just help continue to protect them. So that helps. And also fencing does help, like I said, with your gardens, but also just a place to keep your animals inside. They're less likely to interact with the wildlife by having that fence and that safe place for them to be that probably the wildlife is not going to come into. So make sure that you keep your animals on a leash so that you can keep them from running after animals and create those safe spaces like the fence, and so that you have ways to ensure that the domestic, our pets, and the wildlanders can coexist peacefully. So we need to talk about the importance of community education. How can we spread awareness about the local wildlife, their habits, and the significance of that coexistence? As I mentioned before, state parks are a great way to do that, to understand nature and our wildlife in our surrounding areas, because it's going to be a little bit different everywhere you go. So that's why the state parks are a great way. In fact, we have one very close by in Mammoth Springs. It's only about 20 to 30 minutes away, right at the border of Missouri and Arkansas. Again, follow your local wildlife rehabilitator. Not only know their contact information, but follow them on Facebook. So if there's any recent outbreaks or anything like that, that's something that you can know. There's lots of diseases that are zoonotic that can be spread between humans and animals, or between different species of animals that you might need to be aware of that's in the wildlife. And get involved when issues arise if there's something that you need to spread information about or are able to help. There's lots of negative perceptions that can lead to fear and mistrust and even hostility towards wildlife, and that can hinder our coexistence efforts. And there are engaging ways to educate our communities, fostering a shared responsibility for the well-being of both humans and wildlife to coexist. Remember, our planet is a shared home, and it's up to us to make sure it's a welcoming one for all of its inhabitants. If you're as passionate about creating a world where humans and wildlife thrive together, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, join our community of homeowner enthusiasts, and let's continue this journey together. Make sure to check out this video I did a few weeks ago about making your home pet friendly. Thanks for watching and have a blessed day.